What's up, you guys? It is technically Wednesday because I'm a little bit late on my video for this week. So, I'm Andrea, and welcome to GenderqueerChat. We've got a good topic this week, and I will try to get right to it. Hopefully you can make out my voice and stuff. It's kind of changed because I've been smoking again a little bit much, but it's alright. So, let me find the topic list. Okay, so the topic this week is girl fags and guy dykes. Have you ever met anyone who identifies in this way? And do you see any parallels or shared experiences between these identities and genderqueer expressions of sexuality? And then the bonus question is, what kind of student are or were you? Alrighty. So, to answer the first part of the question, I haven't really met anyone that identifies either of those ways. So I don't particularly know, like, what that is as far as how it would play out from someone else's life, you know. But I kind of have a basic understanding of that, and I think the other genderqueer chatters had some great videos and have talked about kind of what that is. So I don't necessarily want to go over trying to explain it, but I guess my understanding is that it's basically like for the first one, for girl fags, I guess it would be like a girl that feels like a girl but also feels like, as far as their sexuality is concerned, like a man attracted to other guys. So that's kind of my rough understanding of that, and I've only seen people on blogs like a couple times that would maybe use those kinds of identity words. So I don't particularly know what it means, so you know, bear with me on that. But I've kind of gone over this with myself a little bit, and I think, yeah, I can see some parallels. Yeah, I can see some parallels with my own experience, and I think that being genderqueer is a subjective experience, so it's going to be kind of different for everyone. So I can only speak kind of from my own experience, but I think that I would say that there are times where, given my gender fluidity and my kind of fluid sexuality, that there are totally moments where I would feel like potentially either one of those, although I think I would err on the side of girl fag, because I do find gay men attractive at times. So I usually feel more like a lesbian, I guess, but my sexuality is kind of fairly broad and sometimes a little confusing or interesting. So I can totally see moments where I could feel kind of that way, and I don't know what else to say. It's just usually kind of an interesting kind of space. I'll feel like there's kind of two things going on as far as my gender, or something that people would maybe consider paradoxical or conflicting, but I can experience it, so whatever, you know. Mostly I just try to experience the things that I'm experiencing and not label them, but I have run across these words before, and I think that they're quite useful, and it helps me feel a little bit less weird to at least be aware of those words. I don't use them myself, but I think kind of internally I get a sense of relief when I feel sort of paradoxical feelings that relate to like strange overlaps between my gender fluidity and my sexuality also being kind of fluid. So I think I personally get that, and I guess that's kind of what I can speak to. I was thinking that maybe I can say that in general, people who are gender variant might end up being in spaces where their sexuality would be at least kind of queer, you know, like in a broad kind of vague sense, because I think when you're at least kind of gender fluid, or maybe even kind of genderless, you know, I think like sexual attractions and stuff come down to something different, or maybe there's more discrepancies there, where it's like, oh, I'm attracted to these physical characteristics, or I'm attracted to these kind of personality traits or something like that, or just like a person. So I tend to come back to just, I like something, you know, and try to keep it fairly simple. But I guess I would say that, yeah, maybe some other genderqueer people, or just generally like gender variant people, might find that they have some kind of overlap with either of these identity words, or both. Because I mean, just from my perspective, this isn't necessarily true, but I think from my perspective, it would make sense that things can get complicated because of one's gender not being kind of a binary gender, and especially when a person is trans like myself. I think this also compounds some difficulties, where I feel like as far as attraction, there's a lot of things which are kind of invisible. Like if I mention to someone how I'm a lesbian, I would probably not do that so much with most people, because then I would feel like I have to face a kind of conversation that would involve my body and potentially being invalidated in that way. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of what I can speak to. I don't know if I have anything else to say on it. I think it's a great question, and totally worth exploring. Yeah, so I haven't met anyone like that, but I would say that I probably personally have some moments where I experience things that are kind of like that. But I think to me it comes back to just being around people that can respect me, and hopefully people that can relate as well. That's usually where I would be open to kind of expressing my sexuality, I guess, and feeling like it's going to be appreciated. Like, I can express my sexuality, but I think with most people, especially cis heterosexual people, they're them, and that's totally fine, but I don't think they'd get me at all. So in general, I'm only kind of sexually compatible, I think, with people who are at least some flavor of queer. And if they were like a straight cis person, they'd end up being queer. At least I would view the relationship as a kind of queer relationship, so I just feel like that doesn't work out. But anyways, I can totally appreciate these kind of identities, and where there are times where we could have kind of technical incompatibilities. Like, I would not be comfortable being with a gay man and being viewed as a man. Like, my gender fluidity and my sexuality can have times where it's like that, in a way. Like, I feel that attraction to men, and potentially to gay men as well. But then it's like, I'm not that. So if I come out about something like my being trans, my kind of trans femininity, then it's more like they're getting like a small portion, like a small obscure portion of my experience, is when we would be technically compatible, you know what I mean? And what I mean by technically compatible is kind of like, if a straight man were to date a gay man, that would be technically incompatible as far as I'm concerned. Not that that kind of thing couldn't work out, but it's sort of like, if they're straight, then they're not really attracted to men, but the gay man could end up dealing with some complexities there because they are attracted to men. But here's this like hypothetical straight cis man who is only into men, or only into women. Yeah, so I think this is the things I experience are sometimes kind of like that, where there's some technical incompatibilities, but I'm not so worried about it. It's just I don't really date and stuff like that anyways. But I definitely feel like I can have some moments where my sexuality gets kind of complicated, and I might be aware of it, and I kind of go, so-and-so will continue to view me this way, or if they got what I was experiencing, we would be technically incompatible. Which did kind of happen for a time in my life before I kind of understood my genderqueerness and stuff. I was definitely, I guess, kind of in a deeper friendship, and like at least a little bit romantically involved with a gay man, and that was wonderful. I think he's a wonderful person. We still kind of keep in touch and stuff, but I think it became kind of apparent that my kind of femininity and stuff was not sort of, oh, I'm a kind of feminine gay man. It was like, this is really different, you know? And so that was kind of unfortunate. Yeah, I guess that's kind of my experience with that, is that I do see some overlaps, and I can also totally understand dealing with some seemingly paradoxical situations as far as sexuality and gender, and yeah, that's totally a thing. So yeah, I can't really speak to anyone else, and I don't think that there is one objective genderqueer expression of sexuality, but I think what that was referring to is just us as genderqueer people, our individual kind of sexualities. So just in case it's not common sense, we can have all kinds of sexualities. So yeah, so speaking from my personal experience, I think this kind of thing, I can see where my gender and my sexuality have some overlaps, and where I would consider that there are moments where I'd experience something like either of those words, and that's about it, I guess. I think that's kind of what I gotta say. I can appreciate it. I don't use those words. I don't use either of those identity words myself, but I can totally appreciate it as a thing. So yeah, I guess I'll keep it to this like 12-minute video. So yeah, I hope you all are doing really great. I thought there was some good videos out there last week and previously and stuff. So yeah, keep it up. Good stuff. Also, just want to mention really quick, there are a few questions, I think, that we got to our mail on the Facebook page. So if you guys are into answering those, I think there were some really good ones, and we could always try to work it into the topic list and stuff. Yeah, that's about it. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Peace. Again, I totally forgot the bonus question, so I will try to answer that really fast and tack it on to the end here. So the bonus question was, what kind of student were or are you? So I'm not a student anymore, so I can just kind of speak to what I used to be. I guess I'm mostly like a self-learning kind of person, so there's that. And that kind of affected how things were for me in school. I would mostly rather kind of learn on my own. I fucking hated studying. I thought it was really shitty. I was always like really tired at the end of the day and stuff, and I didn't want to do that stuff, but I did it anyways. So I don't know, I was a reasonable student. I did like pretty well. Sometimes I got like B's and stuff like that, sometimes C's. But mostly I was kind of surviving, like especially most of school, but high school was kind of rough, and it was mostly about surviving and not being sexually assaulted and stuff like that, or like fighting back at these motherfuckers. Yeah, sorry it's a little over the top, but that was my experience. It was a pretty rough thing. So I think in short, my school years were more about surviving and fending off these assholes that would like try to assault people. I don't know why school didn't do shit about it, but that was mostly my experience. It was way less about education than it should have been. A lot more about surviving, and I mostly like to learn in my own ways, and I think I do really good. So yeah, I never liked the classroom kind of setting and stuff like that. So that's the kind of student that I was. Yep, I guess that's about it. So yeah, I'll keep it short so I can fit it into the end. Alright, take care you guys. Peace.